Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the investingh webinar series. I'm your host, Prince Henry Danquah. investingh is the leading provider of financial news and education in Ghana. Our news, magazines, and more recently, webinars have been delivered to thousands of people in Ghana and beyond. I'd like to thank you all for supporting our brand and for joining us for today's webinar. Today's webinar is proudly sponsored by Bora Capital Advisors Limited. Bora is a fund manager and investment advisory firm that is regulated by the SEC and NPRA. Bora provides excellent financial and investment solutions that are tailored to the needs of individuals and institutions. You can visit the Bora website on www.boraadvisors.com. The website is also available in the chat section. This is the 6th investingh webinar, but the second in our real estate series. The very first one, the cost of building a house in Ghana, and all our previous webinars are available for streaming on our YouTube channel, investingh. This webinar is also streaming live on our YouTube channel. So if you're unable to join us here or you know someone who is unable to join us, you can get the link which is available in the chat section to this person or anyone at all. If during the course of the webinar you have any questions for our presenter or our speaker for today, kindly direct your questions through the chat section or under the comment section if you're on YouTube. Today, we will continue our real estate discussion with the topic, how to start your real estate business, how to start your own real estate business. We realized that most of you wanted to know how to commercialize your real estate properties and how to even enter the real estate market. So we have decided to dive deep into that discussion today. Our focus, however, will be on how to flip houses and buy rental properties for a living, especially in Ghana. And to take us through this discussion, we have prepared a well-experienced and educated speaker in the person of Dr. Kenneth Donkor-Hyiaman. Dr. Hyiaman will be our speaker for today. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Hyiaman, I'll introduce him briefly. He's a real estate economist who specializes in real estate finance and investment. He has a decade of experience in consulting for many local and international organizations. Some of his works include working with the World Bank Group, Black Ivy Group, those who are part owners of Indigo Homes, Ayimensa Park, and B-Rock Ventures, among others. Kenneth holds a PhD in real estate finance and economics from the University of Reading. He has an MPhil from the University of Cambridge and a Bachelor of Arts in Land Economy from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's currently a lecturer in real estate development, real estate finance, and land economics at KNUST. He's also the co-founder of Metis Brokers and PropIntel Limited, both being real estate consultancy firms. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us today. And I hope we have a very fruitful discussion. And I hope you also get interactive with us by sending us your questions, suggestions, or comments through the chat section here or under the comment section if you are streaming on YouTube. Dr. Hyiaman, thank you for joining us today. I think I'll be calling you Kenneth for most parts of today's program.
Okay,
welcome once again.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed the very first part of our webinar, cost of building a house in Ghana. Yeah. So we'll continue today, and I hope we have a very fruitful discussion. I'll just leave you to it to take us through a few presentations, and then when we are done, we'll continue with the Q&A session, and then other comments will follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I can take over now.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I would like to say a big thank you to the team at investingh.
Yes.
For this second opportunity to share with you on how to start a real estate business, focusing on how to flip houses and also how to make a living out of rental property. Yeah, so I will be talking about these issues as we move on. Yes. Yeah, so the presentation I'll be giving will take two forms. The very first one, I would focus more on looking at helping us to understand the investment asset class called real estate. Because oftentimes a lot of people want to venture into something without having an understanding as to how that thing works, okay? It's the same with real estate. Real estate is quite technical, and it will require that for those of us who want to venture into the real estate business, we need to understand how it works, okay?
Okay.
And so I will do that in the first section, and then in the second section, I'll focus on house flipping, okay? I would give us some guidance on how to do that and do that profitably or effectively as we move on.
Okay.
So,
Doc, before I leave you, kindly disable your annotations, and then if you can maximize your screen so that we'll get the full view of your presentation, we'll be grateful.
Okay. Hold on. Okay.
All right.
So, okay, hold on. Let me, I think I'm showing the wrong. Yeah, so there's a correct one.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so this is the correct slide. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so I work for PropIntel Limited, which actually stands for Property Intelligence. And so what we do basically is to help our clients to develop property strategies and also to help them optimize their real estate investment strategies, basically. So these are some of the things we do there. And so those of you who will be interested in further discussions, I'm also available to do that. Yes, so I'll start a presentation by first showing you this picture. This is the very first investment we did about 7 years ago. We did this small investment somewhere around the Tishinungwa community, which is currently being used as shops and offices. Yeah, so I will be talking about it as we move on, and then some of the experiences we've had are those experiences I'll be sharing with you as we go forward. Yeah, so I'll start a presentation by asking a very simple question, which is, how do you start a real estate business? Now, there are two possible answers, at least two possible answers to this question. I will classify them as the simple answer and then the critical answer. One, the simple answer to this question is that you can start a real estate business just by going to the Registrar General's office and purchasing a registration form, a company registration form. After which, of course, after you've gone through that process of buying, filling it, submitting it, and they approving of it, they would issue you with a certificate of incorporation, and then subsequently you'll be required to obtain a business operating permit. And that is it. You have the permission to start a business, or you have registered a business. But then I think that even though this is important, it does not answer very critical questions. And so hence the second solution. So in the second answer, I'm rather interested in anyone who has a business idea can effectively start a business. But then having a business idea is not enough. You must have the knowledge or the know-how. You must have the expertise and the skill to effectively deliver that idea, okay? And so My presentation today will be focused on the second part of the answer, which is not to show you how to go and register a business, but then to help you want to build knowledge that is required to be able to understand the real estate business space, and then also to show you a few things that might help you, especially for those of you who may be interested in house flipping. Okay. The caveat here is that I don't expect that you will become an expert just by attending today's webinar. But then it will form a useful foundation for those of you who will be interested in learning more about real estate going forward. Yeah, so my presentation will take this form. I'll touch briefly on different types of investments. I would also look at real estate, and then real estate as an asset class, which you can invest in. I would look at different types of real estate investments. I'll look at different types of real estate investment strategies for the first part. And then in the second part, I will focus on house flipping, and then some steps you would need to engage with if you are investing in property. And then the last section, I will look at indirect real estate investment. So when I talk of house flipping, I will talk about house flipping in the context of direct real estate, okay? Meanwhile, for many of you, you may not be in the position, or you may not be interested in doing direct real estate investments, and so you may rather be interested in indirect real estate investment, especially for those of you who may be interested in passive income. And so I'll touch briefly on that as well as we move on. So different types of real estate investments. Now, you can invest your capital or your money in different ways. And these are at least 5 ways by which you can do that. So one, you can invest in bonds. And typically a bond is actually a debt instrument. So when you invest in bonds, you lend money to the bond issuer, okay? So if you lend money, or if you invest in a government bond, you are lending money to the government. If you invest in a corporate bond, you are lending money to a corporation, okay? And this activity entitles you to the position of a creditor to that business. You do not become a shareholder or a part owner of the business. Your only redress, or the only access you have to the company is to its assets in the event of the company not being able to pay back the loan you have given them. Okay, so that is it with a bond generally. And when you invest in bonds, you'll be paid what we call coupons. So coupons periodically, usually semi-annually, and then I think when the bond matures, you'd also be paid the value of the money you invested with the company. And then the second type of investment you'll be interested in is equity stock. So if you buy a stock of a company, or if you buy a share of a company, you become a part owner of that company. It also entitles you to so many rights, like voting rights. You've got opportunity to decide who becomes the managing director, or generally the managing team of the company. All of these are things that you would enjoy if you invest in the share of a company. And then there's also what we call mutual funds. So mutual funds are collective investments where individuals pool resources together to invest, okay? It's often managed by a fund management company. So EPAC in Ghana, for example, is a mutual fund. And of course, it is the first mutual fund in Ghana, and it is managed by Data Bank Financial Services. And then you can also invest in commodities. So like commodities like you can buy oil if you have enough money. You can buy minerals like gold, diamond. You can buy traditional export products like cocoa and the rest. All of these will fall under commodities. And then finally, you can also invest in real estate. So what is real estate? Let's look at it. So I found this nice depiction of real estate online, which I think makes a good case for what real estate is. So from this picture, we get to know that real estate is defined as property, is land, is buildings, and the air rights above the land and underground rights below the land. What this means is that real estate goes beyond just the surface soil. It includes the improvements such as the buildings that are sitting on the land. And then it also includes what we call rights and interests in the land. Okay, so for example, if you're a tenant, that tenancy is a type of right or a type of interest you have in that property, and that is a form of real estate investment. Okay, typically we'll classify real estate into various uses, and we can classify real estate into residential uses, where you can think of houses for accommodation. We can also have what we call commercial real estate, and this will include the shops and the offices from which various goods and services are traded. And then we can also have industrial real estate. So our manufacturers need industrial real estate, such as factories and warehouses to operate from. And then we can also have other types of real estate, such as schools, school buildings, hospitals, even churches are all forms of real estate that investors may invest in. Okay, so this is just a basic idea of what real estate is. Now, when we think of the real estate business value chain, we can classify this value chain into 5 main areas. So you can think of real estate agency, for example, as a business where these agents help people find property to buy or sell or to rent, okay? And I'm sure many of us have one way or the other encountered real estate agents or the business people within this real estate space. There's also a business in advisory for consultants, people who have certain expertise that other people may need. Okay, so for example, I'm sure some of you have come across real estate valuation firms, and these firms help you to put a value on your property if you want to sell it off. Okay, so they can give you an opinion of value if you want to sell it off. And then also you have real estate investment firms. So these are companies that buy or develop property to rent out over a period of time. So for this group of companies, they are interested in the rents that are generated from the properties. And also, they are also interested in the capital growth, the capital value growth when the value of the property increases over time. Okay, and then you have investors in the real estate development space. So a typical example is Deftraco, Blue Rose, Regimano Gray. All of these are business people within the real estate development space. They build property to sell. Okay, and the real estate development business, it's rather a short-term form of investment compared to real estate investment proper. Okay, so what developers do is that they build a property at a cost, they add a margin to determine the price, and then they sell it off. And then they move on to the next project. And then there are there's another group of business people you call the real estate managers, or you find them being referred to as real estate property managers. This is a group of company or businesses that manage property on behalf of investors. So when an investor puts up a building to rent out, it's either he manages the property in-house in a situation where the investment company has in-house expertise, but where the company finds it fit, it may also outsource the management of the property to a specialized company. In Ghana, typical property management businesses include Brawl Ghana. So Brawl Ghana manages quite a number of key real estate assets in Ghana, like the Rich Towers, Accra Mall, and I think even the West Hills Mall, and quite a number of key other Trust Towers, I think Premier Towers are all managed by Brawl Ghana. And so anyone who is interested in real estate business, depending on your expertise or the expertise you can mobilize, may be interested in any of these spaces. But for today's webinar, and more particularly in terms of house flipping, I'll be focusing on the real estate investment and the real estate development business space, okay? And so I'll talk about that later on as we move on. Now, in also trying to build our knowledge of what the real estate asset class is, or what the real estate business is, it is also important that we know the market in which you will be operating if you want to start a real estate business. So typically, the real estate business space or the real estate market can be classified based on whether it is a public market or a private market, and also based on whether the assets that are traded in that market are equity assets or are debt assets. So if you construct a matrix, then you can have what we call a public equity asset market, okay? And in this market, you can either buy a stock of an existing real estate company, and then that will give you access to dividends and, of course, I mean, appreciation in the value of your stock over time. That will serve as a source of income to you over time. You can also invest in the stock or units of what we call REITs. So REITs stand for Real Estate Investment Trusts. I'll talk more about REITs later on, but it offers small investors the opportunity to also benefit from real estate income, okay? And then you can also think about public debt markets. So in the public debt market, you provide debt resources or debt finance to existing companies. So for example, the former HFC Bank, now Republic Bank, has what we call the house bonds. So the house bonds actually offer investors an opportunity to provide capital or funds to HFC or Republic Bank for onward lending in the form of mortgages. So mortgages are loans that are given to people to buy homes. And for these companies to be able to do that, they need to raise the investable funds to be able to do that. And Republic Bank has what we call Republic Bank house bonds. That, I think, bond has been in existence for well over since the 1995, thereabout. And then quite recently, the now merged Ghana Home Loans, which is now merged with FNB Bank, also issued out what we call the mortgage bond. So they basically raised money from the public in order to expand their mortgage lending activities. So when you buy a bond of a company, you effectively loan or give them a loan, which will be paid back over time. The other markets you will be interested in is the private equity market. So in the private equity market, you may be interested in setting up your own real estate company. okay? And in the previous slide, I told you about, or I shared with you the different types of business activities you may be interested in engaging in. Then also you can set up a private equity fund that is focused on investing in real estate, okay? And then the last but not the least is the private debt market. In here, you may be interested in providing mortgages to individuals who want to buy homes or who want to construct their homes. I must say that to operate in the public markets will require a lot of resources. Really, these markets are high-end markets. These are markets that require a lot of expertise. It requires a lot of resources to operate in. And so for the purpose of today's work or today's webinar, I think to a large extent, house flipping, for example, will fall under the private equity market. Specifically, we'll be looking at it under the real estate property company, okay? Yeah, so generally, this will be the market within which your real estate business would operate. Then again, once we know what real estate is, we know what the real estate business value chain is, and then we also know the different types of real estate business markets within which we might end up operating in. We will be interested in also knowing or coming up with a reason for investing in real estate in the first place. So why would you be interested in investing in real estate in the first place? Now, there are many reasons. If you ask different investors, they'll give you many reasons. But there are three prominent ones that are popular that are also backed by empirical evidence. And so I would like to take you through the empirical evidence out there so that you will be informed about your decision to start a real estate business or a real estate investment. So what are the motivations for investing in real estate? Now, one of the motivations for investing in real estate is that real estate provides stable income return, okay? So when you think of any type of investment, the return on any type of investment would often be what we will call the total return. The total return is made up of two main types of return, the income return and then the capital gain return. So real estate, as we know it, provides stable income returns, okay? Real estate is also believed to provide diversification benefits in a portfolio. So I'm sure many of you have invested in different things. Some of you have perhaps you bought a property which you've rented out. Some of you have invested in government securities. Some of you have bought some treasury bills. Some of you have also bought some stocks on the stock market. All of this put together constitutes what we call a portfolio, okay? And there's a reason why we build a portfolio. Today's webinar is not about portfolio building, but then the key point I'd like to make here is that when you invest in real estate, you are likely to benefit from what we call diversification, which enables you to reduce the risk of the portfolio, okay? And then the third reason why you would invest in real estate is that real estate also serves as a hedge against inflation. And the reason why this is so is that anytime inflation increases, oftentimes you find out that landlords will increase their rent. And they'll tell you that inflation has increased. They'll tell you that the cost of building materials have increased on the market. They are basically telling you that inflation has increased, for which reason they have to increase their rent, okay? So rents increases also in line with inflation movements, okay? So that is what real estate does for you. So these are the three critical reasons why anyone would want to either start a real estate investment business or a real estate company. So let's look at some empirical evidence to support these three critical reasons I have given you above. So this is data from the Investment Property Data Bank, published by, and credit shows you. And it shows you that real estate produces a stable income stream. So on this chart, this is a stacked column. And this column is made up of three elements. So the area shaded blue represents the income return component of total return. And then the ash shaded area is what we'll refer to as the capital value growth section or component of total return. You would agree with me that over time, from 2001 to 2013, globally, the income return component of total return has been stable, relatively stable. It's almost the same. As you can see, even though there's some little variation in there, it's quite stable and almost the same. So this is the evidence to support that real estate produces a stable flow of income. We cannot say the same for the capital value growth component of total return, which is the area shaded ash. You can see that between 2001 to 2002, there was virtually no capital growth. And then we saw growth from 2003 up to 2006. And then it began declining significantly from 2007 to 2009. And then it started picking up again. What this shows you is that capital value growth is volatile, okay? As in capital value growth of real estate is volatile. And this happens most in the West or the developed world. Unfortunately, in our market, it's almost as if the value of real estate continues to increase into perpetuity. And I will tell you from a technical point of view that that is an anomaly. There is a structural problem resulting from the way we value property in this country. I will not spend much time on that. I will move on to the second slide, or the second empirical evidence to support the motivation for investing or starting up a real estate business. Then again, we have said that real estate also helps to diversify investment portfolio. And you can know this by finding the correlation between real estate returns and the returns on other investment assets, okay? So on this slide, I show you data based on SSNIT. SSNIT stands for the Social Security and National Investment Trust. Investment Trust. And this data covers the year 2006 to the year 2014. And to know that real estate or a set of investment assets has diversification potential, that asset must have a low correlation with the returns of other investment assets. Okay, and it is even better if the correlation is negative. Okay, if there's a negative correlation between two assets, it means that when the returns on one is increasing, the return on the other is decreasing. Okay, so here the data shows that real estate has a negative correlation with stocks. Okay, and the value of the correlation is 0.004, negative 0.004. Okay, so it means that if you invest in real estate and stocks on the Ghana Stock Exchange, you may enjoy some diversification potential. You may. Then again, you can also think about this diversification potential in terms of other data sets. So here in the second part, I'm also showing you how the Republic Bank's Real Estate Investment Trust correlates with other the returns on other investment funds. And here I'm doing this by looking at EPAC and then the the GSE's composite index. And once again, you can see that the Republic Bank REIT also has a negative correlation with EPAC and then the GSE composite index. What this means is that if you put a part of your money in REITs, that's the Republic Bank REIT, and also a part of your money in EPAC, or a part of your money in stocks listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, you may enjoy some diversification potential. Okay, so the principle here in terms of diversification is that you do not put all your eggs in one basket. And by putting your money or your investment in real estate and EPAC and stocks listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, you may end up effectively achieving that maxim, that do not put your eggs in one basket. And then again, I show you another set of data which looks at the correlation between the returns on real estate investment in Ghana and the returns on other investment assets in the US. Okay, we can see that real estate investment in Ghana has a negative correlation with US bonds. And it also has a negative correlation with global bond index. Okay, and then also with the monthly treasury bill of the US. What this means is that if you invest in if you put a part of your money investing in Ghana's real estate and then a part of your money in US bonds, you may be enjoying some diversification benefits. Yeah, so that is it with the diversification potential of real estate. And then I show you on this slide some data on yields. So any investor, anyone who is interested in setting up any business is interested in returns. And so you would often want to compare the returns on one asset class with the other to know which one yields a better return. So in this chart, I show you some data which was published by Dr. Enimo Dami and his other co-authors. This data is quite old, but as far as I'm concerned, it's perhaps the only data set available in terms of real estate investment. And it gives you information on the different returns the different segments of the real estate market in Ghana has yielded from the period between 1992 and the year 2007. So from this chart, you can see that the emerging up market yields the highest return. That is the line, the orange line, followed by the up market. The up market is actually the high-end property market. And then this is also followed by the gated communities. So investment in gated communities. And then you have all locations, this is the average. And then the middle, investment in middle income properties. And lastly, investment within the Tema community area. Yeah, so if you are thinking about yields on investment in real estate, especially the residential real estate market, this data gives you an idea that the emerging up market generates the highest return, one way or the other. And this is in terms of income return. Okay, so let's take note of that. Now, you can also compare the returns on real estate with other investment asset classes, such as the treasury bill, the equities, and of course, inflation. And once again, you can see that real estate, so the blue line here represents the return on equities. And the deep blue line here represents the return on residential, or represents residential yields. And then the Treasury bill yield is the orange line. It's clear from this chart that the investing in the Treasury bill during this period yielded the highest return. Compared with investments in, say, equities and then residential real estate. But then when you compare equities and the residential income return, you also once again find that the residential income return is much stable than the equities dividend yield, okay, which is actually the income return on stocks, okay, in the market. So once again, it goes to confirm that real estate generates stable flows of income. Yeah, so that is the piece of information you get from this chart. And then I think the last chart I would like to show you from here is the annual total return by asset class. And here we are comparing the return on residential real estate, equities, and then the Treasury bill rate. And you can see that the return on equities, even though it's perhaps the highest over certain points, is the most volatile. You can see that the return on real estate is also volatile, but not volatile as the returns on equities. It yields moderate returns. It is higher than that of the Treasury bill, that of inflation, and then also that of the Treasury bill over time. But then it is not higher than that of equity. So the returns on real estate falls between the returns on equities and the returns on the risk-free Treasury bill rate. So generally, this is the piece of information or knowledge you need to know about the real estate as an asset class in general.
Hello, Doc. Are you there?
Yes, yes, yes. I've seen your message, so I'll do that. Okay.
Okay.
So.
I think we can do the deep dive now.
Okay. So
time is
hold
getting
on.
fast.
Yeah. Let me quickly go through the house flipping, and then we'll just hold on.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Okay. So basically, you can, in terms of real estate investment, you can do what we call direct real estate, where you lead the process. The ownership of the process is in your hands. Or you can do indirect real estate investment, where you invest in real estate through an intermediary. Okay. And under this, there are differences in terms of this strategy. Now, when you think about investment strategy in Ghana, obviously the opportunity lies in the low-income housing market, where there is a huge deficit of about 2 million. Usually, we'll call that a deficit in affordable housing. Okay, so you can use various vehicles. You can either set up a property company, you can set up a real estate investment trust. You can also, if you have enough capital, you can set up a mortgage bond. But these are high end, and it may not be one of the things you may be interested in. In terms of strategy, there are at least 4 main strategies you may want to pursue. You may want to pursue a strategy called the core real estate investment strategy, where you buy properties that are fully tenanted, or properties that have virtually no vacancy, and then you get the income return on that. You can also do another strategy we call the core plus investment strategy. This type of investment often comes with a higher level of vacancy. And so it comes with a higher level of risk, but has a higher level of return on that. And then you can do a value-added strategy where you buy rundown properties, renovate them, and then you sell them out or rent them out. And then the last type of strategy you may consider is what we call opportunistic real estate. An example of opportunistic real estate investment strategy is real estate development. So the real estate developers are using this strategy. Now let's look at house flipping quickly. So when we talk about house flipping, we are basically saying that you buy properties and sell them off. Some other people may call them property trading, or fix and flip, or buy to sell properties. And in doing this, there are two ways to look at it. You may buy properties that are run down completely and renovate them and sell them within a shorter period of time. But sometimes you may also get better deals where the property may be in top condition. And so, however, depending on the condition in the market, you can get it at a lower price, which you can sell at a higher price going forward. Why would you want to flip property? You want to flip property because it opens an avenue for you to make earn a big lump sum of cash in one go. Okay, so you may not be that patient investor who is interested in waiting for over a long period of time to receive rents from rented properties. You just want to make your profits within a shorter time. Flipping property becomes an avenue for you to look at. Yes, so this is what I'm going to do. Because we've run out of time, I would rather consider what follows as questions, okay? So, for example, you may be interested in this question: how do you make money from flipping property? The money you make from flipping property is what you call profits. And it is quite simple. You calculate profit by deducting how much you purchase the property from how much you are able to sell it off, okay? And usually the cost involved in acquiring the property also includes the cost of refurbishing it. So if you are able to buy a property at a lower cost, refurbish it at a very minimal cost, and you are able to sell it at a higher price over and above the acquisition cost, then you'll be making some profit from that, okay? So this is a basic illustration of how you can make money from flipping property. The fundamental rule here is that you buy cheap property and sell at a higher value. Now, someone may also be interested in knowing how to choose the right property to flip. Now, there are three considerations you need to know. One is you need to choose a property in the right area or the right location. In property investment, location is the main determinant of value. And so you want to make sure that the property you are buying is in a location where there is very high demand for property, okay? That is key. There's also merit in choosing the right property. Now, when I say in choosing the right property, I mean two things. One, you want property that comes with the largest number of buyers. So the property that has perhaps the largest number of buyers. And this is because house flipping is often within a short period of time. And so you don't want to buy a property that will require a longer period to sell. So you want a property that has a higher demand for which a lot of people may be interested in. And you can do this by finding out, one, the average household size in Ghana. That can give you an idea of, for example, the number of bedrooms, type of property that may be important in Ghana. So in Ghana, for example, a typical number of bedrooms that the average household size of 4 will need is, I think, a 3-bedroom house. Anything above that would introduce or expose you to a lot of risk. And then also you would also want a property that is in the right situation. By the right situation, I mean a property that you can work on. You see, if you buy a property that does not require any work, the tendency is that the price at which you buy that property will be equal to its market value. And so you cannot maximize profit from such a situation. So you want a property that is often run down, for which minimal renovation can up the value of the property. Okay, so these are the three considerations you will need to think about if you want to flip property. Now, how would you want to finance a flip deal? There are three ways. One is that you can use cash. If you have your own money, you can use it. But then, of course, cash comes with its own opportunity cost. And when I speak of cash, it doesn't mean you should have all the money. You can also go into a joint venture with your friends and family and other people, other investors who may be interested. You may also be interested in using a mortgage, but a mortgage is often not appropriate because mortgages are often long-term investments. They would often last beyond 1 year. But for a flip property, you want to do something within 1 year. And so mortgages may not be appropriate, even though it is one of the avenues that you can use. So the best way of flipping properties or financing a flip deal may be the use of bridge finance. So bridge finance is a type of debt banks may give you. It is a short-term type of debt, which is perfectly suited to flipped properties. I'll skip this slide and then I'll look at this slide as the last one and then we can ask questions. So how would you want to refurbish the property you have bought? Now, there are two ways to look at it. You may do it yourself as a project manager, where you would assemble all the expertise or the professionals to help you renovate the property. But then this requires a lot of personal expertise. You must be on top of your game. You must have the skill to identify the right expertise for the job. The alternative to this is that you outsource the job to a contractor who will come with his own professionals to do the work for you. And then I think the last slide is this one. How do you make the sale? Now, there are three things you need to think about. Very often, because you want to sell it off, it is important you do a number of things. One of them is you've got to stage the property. For example, if it's a house, a lot of people want properties that looked as if people have lived in before, okay? So usually, to stage a property, you want to put in some finishes and make it look more homely. Psychologically, it can enhance your chances of selling the property within a shorter period of time. You would also have to list the property one way or the other, and you can do that using offline and online means. Offline means maybe using setting up signboards at strategic locations such as T-junctions. You may use online means such as listing your property on online listing companies like Mikasa, Tonaton, Gigi, etc. Or using social media platforms like Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, or even WhatsApp. Okay, and then lastly, you would also have to decide on pricing. On pricing, my advice is that there are a lot of properties on the market, and you would want your property to sell off within a shorter period of time. And so usually your price will fall within a range. I would go for the lower limit of that range with the hope that I can get the property sold off within the shortest possible time. I think I will end here and then take questions if there are any, and then we can move on with that.
Okay, thank you very much,
Okay.
Dr. Donkor-Hyiaman. So we have a few questions for you.
Okay.
So I'll read them out. First, we have Samuel. Samuel wants to know, how does registration for properties work in Ghana?
Okay, so how does registration of properties Is it
Yeah.
properties or property businesses? Because there's
You
a
can answer it
variation.
in any context. It could be
Okay.
property business, since we are doing
Okay.
commercial today. Yeah.
Okay, so property business. So basically, how do you register a property business? So
Yeah.
usually it depends. When you go to the Registrar General's office, they have different registration forms for different business entities. Okay, so depending on the type of entity or the legal status your business is taking, you buy the appropriate form, which will require you to fill in, and then you submit them. So for example, there are different legal forms. It may be a sole proprietor, it may be a partnership, it may be a limited liability company. And all of these will come with different processes and requirements, which once you engage the guys at the Registrar General's office, they will take you through the process. Yeah, so basically that is it. If you want to register a real estate business, just go to the decide the legal form it's going to take, and then go to the Registrar General's office and inquire about the process in terms of what forms you need to buy, and then that will be it. But then there's an additional process after you have obtained your certificate of incorporation, which allows you to do business. Okay. In Ghana, you would, depending on the jurisdiction your business will be located in or your business will be operating in, you will also be required to obtain what we call a business operating permit. And this you would be required to obtain from the local government organization within your area. So the district assemblies, the municipal assemblies, or the metropolitan assemblies are the entities that will grant you a business operating permit for you to start operating your registered business. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. There's a follow-up question on that. Is there a regulator for the real estate sector? Do you need licensing to operate a real estate
operate
business?
within the real estate space? Okay, so it depends. I'll start with the real estate agency business. So just a few days ago, Parliament passed what we call the Real Estate Agency Bill into law. So currently there is a law which regulates the real estate agency business. It's just that it was just recently passed, just a few days ago. And so it has not come into operation yet. Yes, but I'm hoping that in the next few months, my friends who are into the real estate agency business, who help people to find accommodation and who also help landlords to sell off their properties, will come under this regulation. Yeah, so that bill will provide regulation. For those of us who are in the advisory space, there is no particular law that regulates this space, but then there's a professional body that regulates real estate advisory, which is the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. So they have some regulation that regulates their members on how to operate a real estate advisory business. Yeah, okay. So I think these are the two key, I would say, regulatory
requirements.
Institutions that you would need to work with if you are working within the real estate. Of course, when you think of other trade organizations, then I also want to talk about the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, that is GREDA. GREDA is a trade organization. It also has its own rules and regulations for its members. So if you want to go into real estate development, then you would also come under the regulation of GREDA, one way or the other. Yes. Okay. And then if you want to go into real estate investment proper, okay, where you mobilize funds and invest in property. So for example, you want to set up a real estate fund, then you would come under the regulations of the Ghana Securities and Exchanges Commission.
Okay.
The Ghana Securities and Exchange Commission. Yeah, so depending on what business you are interested in, these are the key regulators within the space.
Okay, thank you, Doc. The questions are pouring in. I have one from Kwashi. How can you flip quickly, knowing it takes about 2 years to get title transfers done? That's from Kwashi.
Okay. How can you flip quick? So basically consider this as a limitation. But then,
Yes.
of course, I mean, we live in this country and we know that what takes someone 2 years would actually take someone 1 week to do, depending on how deep your pockets and your connections are. Yeah, so yes, if you want to flip quickly and you want to overcome the titling limitation, I would say that you also have to, dip your hands deep into your pockets to incentivize some people to be able to utilize their networks to get this thing done for you. I wouldn't say it's the best way to do it, but that is the situation we find ourselves in as a country. Yeah, so hopefully that situation would improve. But without that, I think that there's still an opportunity for you to get the issue of titling done quickly if you can pay more. Yeah.
Okay. I think that is that where consultants and brokers come in?
Yes. So you can use well-connected consultants to help you do that. And of course, I mean, in my experience, even members or the staff of these institutions, the Lands Commission, may be willing to help you at some premium. Yeah, if you are ready to pay. Yeah, so they can get some of these things done for you quickly. So you would observe that in trying to flip, you would want to buy the property. In buying the property, you need to do a search. Okay. Usually they'll tell you that a search will take about 2 weeks standard. But I can tell you that you can get a search done in a day, depending on how much you are willing to pay. Yeah, so that is one way to cut the duration or the time to be able to flip within a short time.
Thank you very much, Doc. I'll take the next question from Kofi. Kofi says, can you throw more light on the bridge financing, and do you know any institution that can help with that?
Okay, so I indicated that bridge financing is short-term, is basically a short-term loan. Okay, so think about it this way. You are a property developer, okay? And you know that you already have a buyer, someone who is interested in buying a property. The person just wants you to develop the property and his money is ready to pay. Now, because you have someone who is ready to pay and you can develop the property, let's say within a month or two, you can easily approach a bank to give you what we call gap finance or bridge finance. So that is the money you need to put up the structure to be able to secure the money the particular homeowner is willing to pay for you. So that is how come it is called bridge finance. It helps you bridge that gap of construction. Okay. Of course, I mean, almost all the banks can give you bridge finance. Just that because of its very nature, it comes at a higher interest rate compared with the standard forms of loans you would get on the market. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doc. I have this question from Monisha. Monisha wants to know, can those in the diaspora invest in real estate? And in diaspora, she means Africans who are non-Ghanaians. Okay. So she wants to know how foreigners can.
Okay, so I would say yes, they can, but then it's their strategy is limited. Or in other words, it depends on what kind of strategy they would want to adopt. If you want to do direct real estate investment, which means that you want to do it yourself, okay, you perhaps want to be the one building the property yourself. If you are living in the diaspora, that might be a challenge because of the because of the fact that you may not have the opportunity to be on the ground to supervise the works and all of that. Indeed, for many people living in the diaspora, that has been one of the challenges, where sometimes they've trusted family and friends and other people to, get properties developed, only for them to come home to see that nothing has been done. Yeah, so doing it directly might be a problem. I would rather recommend that you do it indirectly through an established company. Okay, so earlier on, I talked about the fact that there are different types of indirect investment. So for example, Republic Bank REITs is an avenue for you to invest in real estate. So you can invest in that REIT and you earn a good amount of, because it is an established and reputable organization, chances are that it will be well managed for you, okay? Yeah, so that is one way to think about it. I don't know of any real estate investment funds currently in Ghana, but then I also know that there's a company called REITs. I think it's a new company. It invests in property and generate income for investors. So you can look out for the name REITs. It's a company in Ghana that also helps people to invest in property. You can also invest with an established real estate developer. So many real estate developers do not have the money to do large-scale developments, okay? So you can go, if you have the cash, you can go into arrangement with them to support them or to finance their projects for a return of their profits. I mean, a part of the returns on their investment. So basically, these are some of the avenues through which you can invest in property. I think safety is the key word here.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Taking another question from Ed. Ed is asking, are there any reliable and reputable platforms or database for rundown houses in Ghana? Rundown houses for sale in Ghana. Is there a database for that?
A database. Okay, I wouldn't say yes, because I haven't come across any. But I can give you some ideas as to where you may be able to find some properties to flip. So for example, you may work with real estate agents. Okay, so these are the people who know where they have a list of properties they are selling. And out of that list, you may find a property to flip. Then again, you can also work with auctioneers and the courts and even the banks. Why am I saying this? Sometimes there are properties that are the subject matter of foreclosures. So someone took a loan to buy a house, the person is unable to pay for it, and so the bank has foreclosed the property. And the bank wants to sell it off quickly in what we call a forced sale. Usually those properties may come at a very high discount or at a lower price to their market values. And so you can find out from the banks if they have any properties they are selling on a foreclosure basis. You can find out from the courts too if there are any properties that are subject matter of foreclosure. And then you can work with auctioneers to identify properties that are on auction.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. I'll take another one from Mali. Mali is asking, should you only buy houses with the land guaranteed with it? Because I have heard of cases of people buying a house but not owning the land that the house is on.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm sure that is possible. Yeah, but the point is that usually when you buy a house, you buy the land and the improvements on it. Yeah, so ideally, my response is that you would want to avoid such situations, because then if you only own the improvement on it and someone owns the land itself, the person might turn up one day and tell you that, look, I need my land, and you have to move your improvement of it. But then I know that people go into some kind of arrangements in various forms. And what I'm sure the question is about in terms of ownership is that you actually have title to the property. You don't necessarily have to own the land per se. You can take a lease over a certain period of time. Okay, a lease will give you ownership for a shorter period of time, and then whoever has the allodial or the head lease may be the one whom the property will revert to after your lease expires. Yeah, so I would avoid a situation where I do not own the land and I own just the improvements on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Doc. This question is from Dr. Ayi. Dr. Ayi, what does the real estate law entail, and does it limit others or provide benefits to agents?
Yes. So the basis of the real estate law is to regulate the real estate agency business. That is it. And in the last 2 decades, we've seen that our real estate market, has been picking up. And there's a record of dubious activities in there. You find that a lot of people who are into drug money, for example, are investing in real estate to clean their money. There are other people who are also doing money laundering by investing in property and doing so many dubious activities in there. So the real estate agency law has been passed principally to regulate that. What the law says is that you cannot, for example, so what the law does is that it makes sure that all transactions in real estate are recorded and follow certain due procedures, okay? And this is to help the government identify these issues of fraudulent activities in there. Of course, issues of money laundering and all of that. I think it also provides an opportunity for my brothers in the real estate agency space to develop their capacity. So for example, to get a license to be a real estate agent, you should have gone through a certain training, which is prescribed by the law. So that will help them build capacity, and it will help them build their expertise. And by doing that, I expect that they'll be able to serve us better.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc. I'll read a question from Richard. Richard is asking, can a low-income earner be an investor in real estate?
Yes, a low-income earner can invest in real estate. Now, this is a very good question, I must say, because real estate is a capital-intensive business. So think about it. The average house price or cost of property or price of property on the market today is well over $50,000. Indeed, there are just a few properties on the market that are priced at $50,000. Most of them are over $100,000. And the question is, how many Ghanaians have $100,000 or $50,000 to invest in property? Or how many of us have that kind of money to buy property? And so what this means is that in terms of buying property, you may not as an individual be able to buy it yourself because you may not have the capital to do that. But what you can do is that you can invest in collective funds like REITs, okay? REITs pools resources from different people together and then they buy the property. So you can have about 100,000 people coming together to buy the stock of a REIT, and that fund that has been pulled together will be used to buy property, which will be rented out, and the rent will be distributed to the shareholders of the REIT. So REIT in particular is suitable for small investors or people who do not have large capital to invest in property. But then if you have large capital, then you may want to buy properties yourself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. There's a question from Oli. Oli is asking, which is better? Is it to invest in apartments or houses? Or is it to rent out apartments or houses? So between buying and selling, which is better? And then between buying and selling apartments or renting apartments and houses, maybe it will be a bit.
It is still not clear, especially with the first one. Is it
okay?
Buying apartments and houses?
So first, is it better to buy an apartment or a house?
Okay.
And then second, is it better to rent out or to buy and sell?
Okay. Okay. So is it better to buy an apartment than to buy a house? Yeah. Now, this is what I would say. I don't think any of them is better than the other. It depends on the opportunity available. Okay. So, for example, if you find that in a certain community, there's a very high demand for apartments, okay, than for houses, then it's an opportunity for you to invest in apartments. The opposite also works. If there's very high demand for houses than apartments, then yeah, houses are better than apartments. Yeah, so that is what I would say. It boils down to the demand for the type of house you are talking about.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much.
So the bit about whether you should you should trade it or you should rent it out. I would also say it depends on your investment goals. So, for example, flipping property is a short-term investment strategy. Okay, it is a trading strategy. So you buy property to sell, and if you're not thinking about a long term, if you want to make money within a short time, then flipping property may be interesting to you. But there are others who want a constant flow of income over time. For them, they have long-term investment horizon, and so for them, they may be interested in renting out the property instead of selling it off.
Okay, thank you, Doc. We still have a lot of questions. Collins wants to know, as a developer or investor in real estate, okay, I think we've answered something similar to this. Eugene, apart from financing and delay in selling of properties in Ghana, what are the other challenges that an investor may face, and what are the measures that can be put in place to mitigate these challenges?
Okay, so apart from financing and what?
And the delay in sales.
Delays in sales.
Yeah.
So the third limitation is what we spoke about earlier on, getting title to the property in the first place. That's one.
Okay.
The second one has got to do with getting the right expertise, okay, to help you, for example, with your renovation, because the condition of the property can effectively delay the sale of the property. Okay, yeah, so expertise is also important. So if you don't have the expertise, kindly get help from the professionals who have the expertise. One of them, or one of the expertise you might need, is to be able to conduct market analysis or market research to identify what properties are in high demand or what opportunities exist in the real estate investment space. You don't just identify any property and just go and buy it. No. You need to identify whether there is an opportunity in there and whether that opportunity is a good opportunity to invest in. I'll give you an example. So in one of our consultancies, there is a university in Ghana that was planning to build hostels, but then they were looking for investors, okay, to partner with investors to build hostels. Now they showed us data. The data showed that they had some existing hostels, And their student population, I think at the time, was about 5,000 or so. And out of these 5,000, about 3,000 of them were housed on campus. And they were making an argument that there are 2,000 students who need accommodation. And so that is an opportunity for investors to invest in. This was what I said. It is a gap. It is not an opportunity per se. And this was the reason, because when we conducted the market analysis, we realized that even the existing hostels, okay, had some vacancy. There was about 10% vacancy on the existing hostels. Meanwhile, there were 5,000 students, as in 2,000 more students, and yet there were still vacancies. So the question they needed to answer was, why is it that you have 2,000 students and yet there is still a vacancy on campus accommodation? It was later on that we found that this university has very strict religious rules, okay? And so a lot of students who would want to escape these rules would not want to live on campus. They would rather want to live outside campus. So a lot of the 2,000 students who were not living on campus were actually living outside. They've rented houses out there. They were living in hostels off campus. You get it? So if you have thought of this as an investment opportunity, you'll probably get in there, build more hostels, and the students will not come because of the strictness with which religious rules are pursued on campus. You get it? So it's important you get the right expertise to analyze the gaps in the market for you.
Okay, thank you very much for the insights there, Dr. Hyiaman. I'll take this one from Kelvin. Must a real estate agent get a qualification or knowledge in negotiation as a skill to help him or her excel in the business? And also, are there any institutions that provide education on certification and certification of real estate agents and investors?
Okay, so education generally is good, and I'm sure most of you will attest to that. Yeah, as to whether that will necessarily make you more successful than another person who is uneducated, I think may not necessarily be true. Yeah, because success in the real estate agency business depends on so many other factors, right? Yes, yeah. And so that would be my point. Getting some form of education is important. Now, the second part of the question, is there an institution that is providing training for agents per se? I wouldn't say there is a very credible institution, well established enough, that provides, for example, very short-term training for real estate agents per se. But then if you are thinking about degree programs, okay, that can enable you venture into the real estate agency business, then there is my department, which is the Department of Land Economy at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, offers two programs, which is the BSc in Land Economy and then the BSc in Real Estate. If you enroll or if you participate in these two programs, you will be equipped with the skill, the expertise, the knowledge to be able to engage in the real estate agency business. I think in the next few months, we'll be coming up with a short course on real estate investment, which I think would also help those of us who may be interested in learning more about the real estate investment asset class. Then again, because the real estate agency bill has been passed, I expect that various institutions will be interested in running those courses for agents. So let's hope that in the coming months, we would hear a lot about some of these programs. My department is already developing a curriculum for the licensing program. And so I'm hoping that it will come up, and then, yeah, that opportunity will be created for those of us who will be interested in learning more about real estate agency.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue with a question from Wilson. Wilson wants to know, what role does the rent control play in real estate investment?
Okay, rent control. So this has got to do with the law and real estate investment. So generally, this is what rent control does. Rent control is a form of price control. Okay, and the empirical evidence out there is that whenever the government or the state regulates rents, investors either undersupply that type of product, or they move their investment into other things that are not controlled, for which rents are not controlled. So in Ghana, we've had the Rent Act of 1962, I guess, and then we've also had even the Rent Control Act, Ordinance and the rest, which have sought opportunities to regulate rent. The experience is that it rather created more problems for the people they sought to protect. So they passed the law to protect low-income earners or the poor, okay? And the assets for which rents were controlled were low-income housing. So this was what investors did. Investors decided not to supply any more low-income housing. They decided to supply high-end housing, okay? And that reduced the amount of investment in low-income housing. And it created or increased the housing deficit within the low-income housing space, basically. And for me, that accounts for, that partly accounts for the increasing housing deficit in Ghana. So that is the effect of rent control on the market. I wouldn't advocate for rent control in our real estate market.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. We have another question from Collins. So are there cases of lease expiration where the land and property on it has returned to the original owners? And how do you consider this in your negotiations? Okay. Let me add another one to it because it's related. How long are lease agreements in Ghana? That's land, leasing of lands. Okay. And then do you lose title to your land after the lease period? Okay.
Yeah, so are there, the first one, that is what happens. Yeah. Yes, that is what happens. The property reverts to the owner once your lease has expired. Yeah, so the land and the improvements on it. So if you bought land and built a house on it, and you had a lease for, let's say, 50 years. After the 50 years, unless you renew the lease, the land and the building will revert to the original landowner, the one who gave you the lease, okay? So, of course, there is a lot of instances like that out there. Can you remind me of the second bit of the question? How long are leases in Ghana?
Yes.
Okay, so in Ghana, it depends on your status. If you are a citizen of Ghana, then you can get a lease for 99 years, which is often the conventional type of lease you find in the space. If you are a foreigner, you can get a lease of up to 50 years. And this is stipulated in Article 266 of Ghana's Constitution. Yeah, so depending on your status, you can get a maximum term on a lease. And of course, you can also get a lease for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, depending on what you want the lease for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
is this something that we should look out for in the lease agreement as investors?
Yes, Yes, so the third one, this is very important. It's so important, especially if you are buying property to rent out. Now, imagine you're buying a property, let's say, to rent out, and then you bought a property and only got to know that the lease has only 1 year to expire on the property. What it means is that after 1 year, you're going to lose the property. And a lot of people have fallen victim to these things because they did not check the unexpired term on the lease. Okay, so if you are buying property, get a professional to examine the lease on the property for you. Get the professional will tell you what the unexpired term is on the lease. And yeah, depending on your interest, you may venture into buying it or you may not. Because some people want leases more than 50 years. Some want 99 years. So if the unexpired term is less than your preferred lease term, then you will not engage. If not, then you would have thrown away a lot of money. Because in valuation, how much you should pay for a property is linked with the unexpired term in the lease. You get it? So someone can effectively sell a property, let's say a property to you at a price you shouldn't be paying for because the lease term is not up to what it should be selling for. So it's key. Get professionals to check that for you.
Okay, thank you very much. This question, this question is from Leon. Leon wants to know. Okay, Leon says, I recently bought a 7-master bedroom that I wanted to renovate and rent out, but I'm thinking of the flipping option now. Do you have any advice on that? The property is in Takoradi.
Okay, 7-bedroom. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so a flip may work. It may also not work, depending on the indicators I gave you. One, the location of the property. Is it located in a place where an area where there is very high demand for such types of property? Okay, so that is something you need to examine. Secondly, is the property, or are there a lot of people within that space that are looking for that type of property? Okay, and lastly, I'm sure the condition is such that it fits a flip situation. Yeah, so first, just conduct your market analysis, identify potential buyers, and then I'm sure you can work out something on that. For a 7-bedroom house, I must say that it might be challenging one way or the other to sell it because I mean the average Ghanaian doesn't need 7 bedrooms. Yeah, so those who will be interested will not be the average Ghanaian. Maybe a company may want it to house its employees. And so you may be interested in talking to the companies in that space. You may also, if you are not thinking about a flip, but thinking about investment, you may also target the expat community within the Takoradi area. Okay, so those guys who work for the oil and gas companies and the banking institutions, they may be interested in renting it on short-term basis, one way or the other. So this is what I would have to say about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. I have a question from Collins. Is the market for vacation homes in Ghana well developed? And how do you develop and market vacation homes in Ghana?
Yeah. So by vacation homes, I'm sure you are including the hotels. Yeah, because I mean, anyone traveling from abroad to Ghana will be considering the hotels one way or the other as vacation homes. But then I know that you're also talking about vacation homes in terms of homes that are located in maybe tourist areas. In terms of the hotels, I'm sure that you would agree with me that there are quite a number of hotels in town. Of course, most of them are located in the cities. In places where around the tourist sites, there are some vacation homes, but you would usually realize that most of them are not very well developed. Okay, so yeah, there might be some opportunity there for investors who would want to think about vacation homes.
Okay, thank you very much. This one is from Sewa. So as a young person now beginning life who is interested in real estate, what will you recommend that the person does if the person wants to invest directly? It appears it's a bit capital intensive.
Yes. So if you want to do it directly, then I would advise you come together with like-minded people to pool your resources together to be able to do it. So, for example, if you want to buy, let's say, a 2-bedroom house to rent out, you would need not less than, say, $50,000 to do that. So if you can get enough people to come to agree with you in terms of the business idea, then you can also get them to bring their resources together to be able to purchase the property. I would also advise that to be able to do that, apart from putting in place this kind of group structure to mobilize the resource, that is the finance capital to buy the property, you also need to ensure that you have acquired the requisite knowledge, skill, and expertise to manage the property. Okay, that is also important because mismanagement of the property would affect the returns you earn on the investment.
Okay, Doc. Elijah is asking, how do you start a real estate brokerage business? How do you start? So maybe you can take us quickly through registering, licensing, and then commencement.
So I had indicated earlier on that a real estate brokerage business is like any other business. And so if you want to start it, I had said that one way to start it is just to go and buy forms at the Registrar General's department and fill it, submit it, and then once they grant you a certificate of incorporation, yeah, you have a business to start. But then the key point I highlighted in my introduction is that that is not a critical issue. First, you must identify an opportunity within the brokerage space in the first place. Okay, if there's no opportunity there, then it wouldn't be wise for you to start a business in that space. So first, identify an opportunity within the real estate brokerage space. And once you identify it, develop your business proposals or your plans, your business models as to how you want to operate that business. And once those business models and plans have been developed, then you can walk to the Registrar General's department to register it. And then you can start looking for business from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. This one is also from Andrea. Andrea is asking, do you have any more experience about how to get involved or invest in real estate investment trust? And can you name a few investment trusts that we can invest with?
Okay, so I'll take this opportunity to talk about real estate investment trust. I think I had a slide on that. Okay, so let me see. Okay, here. Yeah, so what is a real estate investment trust? So in this diagram, this is a model of a REIT. Okay, so in a typical case of a REIT, you have investors investing in what you call this a REIT, okay, the real estate investment trust. They give their money to this REIT. This REIT actually employs professionals who would go out there, look out for the opportunities. They would appraise it. They would do their various reporting, and then they would also acquire the properties, okay? And then they would also do what we call property management. They will find tenants to occupy the property. And then when the tenants pay rent, they will then distribute those rents to the investors, okay? So the REIT will serve as an intermediary that will enable you to invest in property. Now, there are different forms of REITs. There's what we call equity REITs, there's mortgage REITs, and there are hybrid REITs, okay? And all of these are targeted at different things. So typically a mortgage REIT is a REIT that lends money to people to buy homes, okay? So in which case they originate mortgage loans. They may also even invest with or give funds to banks to invest in mortgages, okay? Help people to buy homes. In Ghana, there are a few REITs you may consider. One is the Republic Bank REITs. So you can contact the Republic Bank about their REITs, and I'm sure they will help you to acquire a unit of that REIT. You can, in recent times, the GCB Securities, that's GCB is former Ghana Commercial Bank, in partnership with the government of Ghana, has also set up a REIT, an affordable housing REIT. That REIT is meant to, or is targeted at developing affordable housing for sale to middle income households. So you may also contact the Ghana Commercial Bank, and they will help you purchase a unit of their REITs as well. These are, I think, the two main types of REITs I have seen around. For some of the others I've seen, I'm not too sure they are operating.
Thank you, Doc. As a follow-up to you mentioning affordable housing, Seth wants to know, is there any likely future impact of affordable housing on real estate businesses?
Is there any likely future of impact
yes,
of affordable housing on what?
On the real estate market in Ghana.
Yeah, it's a good question, but it is quite vague. When you say impact on the real estate market, I would expect that you want a certain dimension of the market. So, for example, in terms of prices, okay?
Yeah, prices. Yeah.
Okay, prices. Now, it's basic economics. Now, the deficit in terms of housing in Ghana is in terms of affordable housing, okay? So basic economics will tell us that all things equal, if we supply more affordable housing, then a lot of people will have many options, for which reason, once supply increases and demand is constant, then the price on affordable housing will drop.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is one way to think about it. However, the opposite also works. If we do not supply enough to meet demand, what it means is that the price on or real estate prices will within that space would also go up in such a way that a lot of the properties will not be affordable, just the same way that our market situation is currently.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. I have a member of the audience here asking me questions pertaining to land acquisition and then leasing. Okay. So let me ask the questions from the discussion. First of all, he wants to know if a land can be purchased outright, the land.
Okay.
And then secondly, wants to know if after the lease period, the 99 years period, the title is transferred automatically back to the previous owner, or there has to be another agreement in place to determine whether the transfer will be done or not. That's second. And then thirdly, he's saying something like the agreement was initially supposed to be an outright sale, but he later realized on the documents that it's a 99-year lease. So he feels maybe after 99 years, then the title will be transferred back to the previous owner.
Yes. So yeah, technically, that is called a SSNIT or a reversion. So I indicated earlier on that if the deal is characterized as a lease, and in fact, these are legal terms, okay? So certain conditions must be met before a transaction may be characterized as a lease. Now, if it is effectively characterized as a lease, then unless you put in the lease contract that on expiration of the lease, maybe some activity should be performed before the property reverts to the owner, then automatically, once the lease expires, it will revert, ownership will revert to the one who granted you the lease. Okay, so it's a matter of contract. You would have to, if you don't want that to happen, then you would want to put a clause in your lease contract to specify the kind of activity you want done when the lease expires. Now, when people talk about outright purchases or outright sales, they are effectively talking about another legal concept called assignment. Okay, so if I have an interest in a property, I may dispose of the property by granting you a lease for a shorter term than the interest I have in the property, or I will assign all my interest to you. Okay, so for example, if I'm a freeholder, or if I have a lease for say 99 years, I can also sublease that property for say 50 years. Okay, so that 50 years is a lower interest than my 99 years in the property. But when people say outright purchase, they are saying that you sell off all your 99-year interest in the property to another person. When you do that, that results in what we call an assignment. Okay, so usually the example he cited, the person who granted the lease did not assign all his interest in the property to him. He had kept a certain number of years to himself, so that after the period of the lease expires, he will take over again. So if you want an assignment, make sure you have that agreement with the landlord. Okay, make sure that understanding is gotten at the negotiation stage. Else, you will be sold something you do not want. And usually, you always need a professional to guide you in this process. So you might need a land economist or a lawyer to help you in that process. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc. I'm sure Frank will be okay wherever he is currently. I have a question from Sonny. Sonny is asking, what is the best way for an inexperienced person to start learning about real estate investment? And then what is the best way to also propose a real estate business idea to someone in a way that the idea would not be stolen?
Okay, the first one, how do you learn about real estate?
Real estate, yeah, as a beginner.
As a beginner. I believe there are many avenues to do that. Even on YouTube, you would get some basic learning from there. There are quite a number of YouTube videos that attempt to teach you certain things in real estate. So yeah, you can start from there. The only limitation is that very often, many of these YouTubers are not very technical people, okay? So the videos may not be very technical, and they may not help you necessarily run a real estate business per se. So in that case, if you are thinking of venturing into the business, you may want to take a formal course in real estate. Okay, in which case perhaps you want to take a short course where you get guidance and assessments on your performance, or you want to even do a whole degree on real estate. And I think that will help you build your knowledge over time. You may also want to maybe be an apprentice to an existing real estate company. Okay, that will offer you the opportunity to learn on the job. And I believe that you learn a few things from there. The second part of the question, how do you pitch your real estate investment idea to someone in a way that your idea will not be stolen? So usually I will say that get a patent for your idea. If your idea is unique, yeah, get a patent. And I know this suggestion is a bit ridiculous, especially in this environment, because I mean, going to get a patent can take you perhaps more than 1 year. Yeah, so what you will do is that you'll perhaps get the services of a lawyer to aid you in your discussions with whichever prospective investor there is. So even before you pitch, you would want the prospective investor to sign perhaps an oath of secrecy, or will sign an agreement that he or she will not engage in that investment, perhaps without your involvement, one way or the other, so that if he or she breaches that agreement, then you can take the person on legally. Okay, I think that is an easier way to go about it. Other than that, I can bet you that there are a lot of people out there who have the resources, who are just looking to steal your idea.
Ideas, yeah. But Doc, is there a way you can brief us on how to get a patent for our ideas in Ghana?
I'm sorry, I don't know much about the patenting process, but I'm sure if you go to the Registrar General's office, they should be able to help you with that.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. This one is from Emmanuel. Emmanuel is saying that if SSNIT invests in real estate in Ghana, can you consider SSNIT contributors to some extent as real estate investors?
Yeah, very good question. Are SSNIT contributors real estate investors? It's interesting. It's a yes and a no.
Okay.
I would say no because, okay, I think I'll make it quite easier. I'll say yes. Yes, in a sense that SSNIT is effectively investing your contributions on your behalf. So SSNIT is more or less like an agent, and you are the principal, right? And SSNIT is investing your contributions in, let's say, real estate. It's just that it's a bit more complicated than a typical indirect real estate investment strategy. Yeah, because SSNIT is effectively also a pension fund. It is not a real estate investment company.
Okay.
You get it? And neither is SSNIT a REIT. Yeah, so it has certain goals, and it is only investing as an institutional investor. It is, they are only investing in real estate to get the benefits of investing in real estate. Yeah, so yeah, you may consider contributors, SSNIT contributors as investors in real estate, because one way or the other, they may benefit from the performance of that investment. But I would say that technically, they may not be considered as investments in or investors in real estate.
Okay. I'll take the last two questions and then we'll conclude. The first one is, if I buy an apartment in an apartment building, do I also have to think about the terms that are for the land that the apartment building is built on?
Yeah, that's a complication. That's a complication. Yeah, obviously you have to think about it. You have to think about it. It's an important consideration you must have. Yeah, but usually you want to make sure that the land on which the entire property is sitting on is secured. Okay, and then the apartment you are bought from, the unit, also comes with enough provisions that guarantee the safety of your investment. Okay, these are the sort of things you basically would have to do. And in terms of what you should do, I would say that get a professional to lead you. Perhaps get a lawyer, get a land economist to lead you in that process, especially when it comes to contracting. Yeah, because many a times that becomes the subject matter of contention as to whether you also own the land the property is sitting on or not.
Okay, thank you very much. Our last question. Ben is saying that the data that you use in your analysis for profitability and all that, and the correlations, they are a bit old. And he's asking, how reliable are these estimated correlations and returns for today's decision making, considering the significant increase in the activities within the sector in recent times?
Yes, I agree that the data is old and there's a need to update it. Yes, I agree perfectly. Even more especially because the diversification benefits from real estate, as we know from the empirical evidence elsewhere, actually changes over time. Yeah, so there are periods when real estate serves as an effective diversifier of investment, and there are also periods where that diversification benefit is lost. Yeah, so there's a need to update that data. However, what I said was that getting that data is where the problem is. Okay, there isn't a central database that provides that data for you to analyze, and so you would have to collect the data yourself. And in collecting the data yourself, you must have the expertise to be able to collect the data, to clean it, and to analyze it. And that is where there is a problem. I want to believe in the coming weeks or days or months or years, someone will collect that data and do the analysis for all of us. But then, currently, there's nothing like that. And if you want to do it, you would incur a lot of cost in collecting the data.
Okay. Sorry, I think I missed this question and Liz just prompted me. So let me ask this as the final question. Are there plans to verify land and property deeds online for a fee in Ghana without having to grease too many palms for such information?
Can you repeat it again?
Are there plans, okay, to verify land and property title deeds online for a fee in Ghana without having to go through the stress
of going to the Lands Commission?
Yeah.
Currently, I don't know of any plans to verify property details online. I don't know of any. I think it perhaps would have been an interesting development in the property space. And we were hoping that the LAP, which is the Land Administration Project, would have done something like that, but they were not able to do it. And so, yeah, I don't think there's anything like that currently.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Donkor-Hyiaman, for the presentation and the wonderful discussion that we've had today. Before we conclude, I'd like to give out a few announcements to our audience here. To get access to the resources from this webinar and all other webinars from investingh, kindly register on the website, the investingh website at www.investingh.info. investingh.info. At the website, just click on register. You complete a very short form with your email address in it. When you are done, you submit the form and then you check your mailbox for a confirmation mail from investingh. It's a very short process. For those of you with Gmails, you would have to check under your promotions tab. If you don't see it in your inbox, just check your promotions tab for the investingh mails. All resources to our previous webinars, all informations are passed through the mails. So just register. All you have to do is register once and you will receive this and all our future correspondence directly into your mails. You can also join the investingh WhatsApp groups for more information. Links to the WhatsApp groups will be made available in the chat section and also in the mails that we send to you. You can visit our website at www.investingh.info for more information about joining our WhatsApp groups. You can contact us directly also. We have partners whose contact details will be provided in the chat section under the comment section, the description of this video when it is uploaded. You can also contact us via our websites, just provide feedback for us. You can join our WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, and also ask us all sorts of questions, make your recommendations, pass your comments directly to us, and we'll make sure we address them directly. We are here to serve you. We are here to educate you. We are here to make sure that you get your finances intact for today and for tomorrow. So just work with us, patronize us, share our videos, subscribe to our channel, comment if you want to, and try to get interactive with us. We would like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. We appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. And we hope that the next time we have another webinar, when we call upon you, you would join us so that we all learn together. For me, it has been a very interactive, very educative discussion for me. I'll thank Dr. Kenneth Donkor-Hyiaman for joining us today and for educating us. This is actually the second, like I said, the second webinar in our real estate series. The very first one, the cost of building a house in Ghana, had Dr. Hyiaman talking to us about that. You can get to watch it as well on our YouTube channel. Just visit YouTube and then look for investingh, and then you can see all our videos. The cost of building a house in Ghana was the topic of that webinar. This webinar was proudly brought to you by Bora Capital Advisors Limited. They are a fund manager and investments advisory firm. They provide investment advisory solutions to everyone, both individuals and corporates. You can visit their website at www.boraadvisors.com for more information. Doc, before we leave, any final words for us as you did the last time?
Yeah, so I would say that because real estate is capital intensive, make sure you get your search and your checks done before you invest any money with anyone or you even attempt to get into that space, because you might end up losing a lot of money. Okay, so as much as possible, do well to engage the professionals On matters of contracting, get a lawyer to lead that process for you, just as a way to reduce the risk of losing your investment. There are a lot of crooks in the space who are just looking for vulnerable people to devolve. So make sure you are not a victim of that. Use professionals, do a lot of research, contact lawyers to engage with you on matters of contracting. And I believe that you will be able to get a good deal or come up with something interesting. Yeah. If you also need to talk a little bit more about investment opportunities you found, you can also contact me. We can have various forms of discussions about it. And I'm sure we can help you to make some of the best decisions as well. Yeah. And lastly, when you get the slides, we've actually started a real estate business startup program where we lead people who are interested in starting a business in that space. We help them to acquire the knowledge and then the skill involved in identifying and analyzing real estate investment opportunities. And also, we also help them with the expertise involved in, for example, putting in the structures to be able to flip properties, to manage properties effectively. Yeah, so if you are interested, you can also get in touch with us and we'll add you to the list of students who are undergoing that training. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the presentation and then the contact details of Dr. Kenneth Donkor-Hyiaman will be provided via mail to all our subscribers. Details will also be provided under the description of the YouTube video when it's finally uploaded. If you still don't get it through this media, you can contact us directly for the contact details of Dr. Hyiaman. And then you can also look up Metis Brokers and PropIntel Limited for more information about what Dr. Hyiaman does and how he can help you achieve your real estate objectives and goals. Before we leave, investingh is also compiling data on real estate properties for sale and for rent in Ghana here. So you can contact us directly for that as well. That will be that for the announcements. And thank you all for joining us once again. We appreciate you for coming. Dr. Donkor-Hyiaman, thank you for the opportunity once again. We hope to see you all in our next webinar.
You're welcome.
So have a good evening, everyone. We'll see you next time.